Hey guys, so it is 1 a.m. No, it's actually like 1:45 a.m. I'm currently leaving the library. There's a sub over there. Sorry, I'm making y'all dizzy. But yeah, today's video I'm going to talk about the stress of studying and also what it's like taking tests. I'm sorry, it's 1:45 a.m. I don't even know what I'm saying. But yeah, I'm gonna take you guys along with what it's like studying for exams. Welcome back to my talk show. Anyways, so from what you guys can tell from that intro, today's video is going to be about studying and how to really handle it. So I'm going to be ranking the worst ways to study compared to the best ways to study. So these are all personally, in my opinion. I want to hear what you guys have to think as well. But yeah, let's get right into it. The worst way to study. Alright, so on the bottom of the list, the worst way to study is by not studying at all. So this also includes by not really going to any of the lectures, by just not doing any of the homeworks, and just not really preparing yourself for the exam. So if you do that, you are kind of just setting yourself up to do poorly on the test. So I would highly not recommend that. After that, the second worst would be studying the day of the exam. Now, this one's better than not studying at all, but you kind of just rush to cram everything, and while it might help you for like one or two questions, depending on the test that you have, you are solely relying on like that short-term memorization. So in the end, you're not really learning and you're not really gonna do as good as you want to do on the exam. Now, for everyone it might be different, but for me, I just couldn't work with that. So after that, the next worst thing, this one's not as bad as the previous two, but it is pulling an all-nighter. So this one really does depend on how you study, because I have some friends that pull all-nighters and do good on exams, but I've also got friends that can try to pull an all-nighter, but they'll like go to sleep at like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. So it really does depend on you personally, but kind of as I stated before, you are really focusing and putting your energy on short-term memorization. So you're not really gonna learn anything, you're just memorizing things, and then in the exam you could blank out, and if you don't have it memorized, you're just gonna do bad. So those are some of the 3 ones to watch out for. So now we are moving up the list and we are on good ways to study. So the first one that I want to talk about are lecture notes and homeworks. So these kind of go hand in hand. It really does depend on your professor and the classes that you're taking, because for me, for example, in my physics 2 class, the exams were very similar to what he went over in class. So for me, it was best to study the lecture notes. But for my thermodynamics class, maybe it's best to study for the homeworks, because the exams are literally the same thing as the homework. He just changes a few things. So yeah, it really does depend on the classes, but the better ways to study is by looking at your lecture notes and to also look at your homeworks. Another honorable mention that I do want to mention as an honorable mention, yeah. But I would recommend studying quizzes if you have quizzes in that class. So for example, in some classes where you don't really have to work out practice problems and you either just like learn vocabulary or you really just have to apply what you learned, then if your professor gives out quizzes during the semester, that's going to help you out a ton. Because I took an ethics class and we had weekly quizzes, so we didn't really have any like homework where we practice out problems, and it was asynchronous, so the lecture notes they were helpful, but the thing that really helped me get a good grade in that class was reviewing the quizzes, taking practice quizzes, and after I take the quizzes, just look over what I missed, look over what I got right, and just study that, because there was a super high chance that those like same problems were going to be the exact same on the test. And if they weren't the same, they were still like 90-80% very similar, so it helps you like get in the right mindset for the exam. So I'd strongly recommend looking over the quizzes. Alright, lastly, it's what y'all have been waiting for, the best ways to study for exams. So the first one, I want to say practice exams or previous exams that your professor has uploaded. This is the bread and butter of studying. This is amazing because you can really prepare yourself and you could practice on your own. The best way that I like to do it, if you do have access to a practice exam, is to actually like print it and actually like time yourself taking it, because sometimes whenever you're working out problems or you're just practicing, you can kind of lose track of time. But whenever you actually have a practice exam, it helps you like pace for the real thing. So I would strongly recommend getting practice exams and taking advantage of that opportunity. So yeah. Next one is SI sessions. So this one, I've been to a ton of SI sessions throughout my college career. I'm a junior right now, but I've been to a ton of SI sessions, and I just want to say 10 out of 10 because they are taught by students or by graduate students who have previously taken the class and done well in the class. And maybe some of y'all don't know, but they actually work with the actual professors themselves. So maybe the professor can give like a strong inclination to a problem that might be on an exam. So yeah, I'd strongly recommend going to SI sessions, and also the SI leaders are great people and they'll be more than happy to help you with any question or any concern about like the exam or maybe like just anything about the class itself. So yeah. And lastly, one of the things that I did want to touch up on was the Learning Center. So this is kind of similar to SI sessions. It is definitely a resource that you guys should use if you have any concerns or maybe you're struggling with a class. There's no shame in getting help because, what's easy for you might be complicated for someone else, but what's complicated for you might be easy to someone else. So I definitely recommend checking out the Learning Center if you have a question about a homework or an exam, or maybe you just need a little bit of clarification. I would strongly recommend checking them out. I'm going to be putting the link for the description about Learning Center as well. That wraps up my list from worst to best, but before I go, I also wanted to give y'all 3 more quick little tips. So the first one, study on time. Kind of like as I said before, if you don't study at all, or maybe if you study the morning of, you don't really have time to really understand what you're learning. And if you do have a question, you can't really ask anyone at like 3 a.m. So study on time. Next one, prioritize sleep and food. This one, you kind of don't think about it because sometimes like in exams, especially during finals, you're just like super focused on exams, but it's actually really important. Make sure that you get an adequate amount of sleep and make sure that you eat food, because if you do these 2 things, you're just going to be feeling better in the exam compared to if you pull an all-nighter and you don't eat breakfast, you're just going to be taking the exam like a zombie. So don't do that. And then the last one, stay organized. So this one, it can either be just keeping track of all your notes or maybe just like using different highlighters or things. So for like one of my exams, I just like used highlighters to really just stay organized on everything. So yeah, and this really helped me. I think I did decent on that exam. So yeah, those are my best tips. We hope that you guys learned something and we hope you apply these. If they help you, let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, that wraps it up. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you guys so much for watching.